Good morning and welcome to Real Talk with Claudia. I'm your host, Claudia Ellis with Claudia's Door Decor. Today we're talking about accountability versus excuses. Why do you think this subject is important? Because a lot of times we don't even realize how we are our own worst enemies. Being accountable to our businesses, being accountable to our families, being accountable to our communities, those are all things that we think may be heavy at times, especially when we're not feeling it. But the amount of excuses that we have learned to give ourselves, excuses about why we didn't show up, why we didn't do the thing, why we didn't show up for ourselves, our families, or our business. We are in the excuses game, and somehow we're okay with that. So here's the thing. If you are going to build a successful business, if you are going to be successful in keeping your family happy, yourself happy, and your community happy, you need to get into the habit of stopping the excuses, because what you tell yourself, you believe. If you tell yourself the reasons why you can't do something, that is going to be your go-to. That's how your brain gets wired after time. So the science behind it is that we believe what we tell ourselves. So if we're consistently making promises or telling ourselves that we're going to do something and we don't, that starts to create a pattern. You'll start to see yourself procrastinating more. You'll start to see yourself not making those big jumps in the things that you think you should do or the ideas that you think would be great. You stop doing the big things because you're making excuses as to why not to. Okay? So let me go ahead and say this right out of the gate. You don't have a time problem. You don't have a talent problem, because most of you already know what you should be doing. We're just not doing it consistently. We know what we should be doing. We know the things that we need to focus on, but we're not doing them. And it's not about calling anybody out, because I suffer from this as well. That's why I can speak from what I'm going through. I can talk to you about what's shown up for me in this journey. Hi, Miss Cassie. What's shown up in this journey? Why it's so difficult? Why I struggle? So I've been breaking it down, and it's an accountability issue. And I'm really, really good at making those excuses. I'm really, really good at telling myself all the reasons why I shouldn't do something. I'm always thinking of why not instead of why not, if that makes sense. Okay, so the example that I can give you, which cracks me up, but it's relatable. It's like putting your car in neutral on a hill. You don't feel it at first, but you are slowly rolling backwards. We're drifting away from all the reasons why we started this business to begin with. We're just moving backwards. The momentum starts moving us backwards. It's not moving us forward. It's not getting us to where we want to go and where we want to be. It's causing us to question basically everything. Every absolute thing that isn't. The thought left me. Hold on. We're not thinking about absolutely everything that we were doing at one point. I mean, we made that decision, right, to start that business. We made that decision to put ourselves out there. But slowly, we start drifting backwards. Why is that? And that's what we need to talk about. We need to talk about all those reasons and all those things that makes us drift backwards. Most people don't fail. They slowly stop doing what works. Okay, so when something's working and you're gaining momentum, you need to continue to do that thing, regardless of what it is. We need to do that thing because it's working. Okay? Yeah, we might get a little sidetracked at times, but it doesn't mean that we shouldn't continue doing what's working. Inconsistency is quiet. That's why it's dangerous. We don't notice at first that we're not being consistent. We just make excuses like I'm tired or this is a lot. We say those things, and once we say them out loud, we believe them. So don't do that to yourself. Don't surround yourself or listen to people that continue going down that negative highway, because that highway leads you to where? Okay, we need the staircase. We need the stairway. Okay, we need the staircase. We need the stairway. We need to move up and forward, not slide back. Accountability does that for us. If we have a person, a community, a way to be accountable to all those bright ideas, all those things that we're doing, all those things that we're succeeding in, that will continue to move us forward. Okay? Excuses move us backwards. Accountability moves us forward. And yes, it totally is the worst thing ever when somebody's reminding you of what you said. Yes, it's hard to hear to have a mirror shown back to you for somebody to say to you, hey, didn't you say you were going to do this? Didn't you say that you wanted to get here and you wanted to focus on this? Do you know why it bothers you? Do you know why it gets under your skin? It bothers you and gets under your skin because they're right. Because they're right. That's why it bothers you. So remember that when you are trusting somebody to help you be accountable, it's gonna sting. It just is. I don't know why. I don't know why us as humans get so absolutely frustrated when somebody's telling us what we already said we were going to do and we haven't done it. That's frustrating. Cassie, thanks for tapping the screen. I appreciate you. So even in your inconsistency and it being quiet, you didn't quit, right? You just stopped showing up the same way. When you first start doing this, when you first are like throwing things to the wind and seeing what takes off, you're consistent in that because you want to see what happens. You hit the live button consistently. You post consistently. You're doing all the things consistently because you're trying to build something. And then you notice after time, the excuses start being louder than the consistency. And that is when you need to have a check yourself and ask yourself why. Why is the inconsistency gone? Why is the inconsistency frustrating? Okay? Small skips turn into habits. And drift happens when you stop deciding daily. I understand decision fatigue. I understand that we have to make so many decisions about everything and it can get tiring. I understand that. But the drift starts to happen when we stop making those decisions, when we stop being consistent, when we stop doing the things that is going to bring us forward. So what do? As creatives, we fall into this easily. We just do. We found that making wreaths, that designing creative pieces did something for our mental health. It was creativity. It was stuff we were making with our hands. It brought us joy. Good morning, Marisol. So glad you made it in. So those things, that's why we started doing this, right? Is because it really made us feel some kind of way. The opposite is true when we're working on our businesses and we start to wean back. We don't do the things that we should be doing. We're not showing up the way that we should be showing up. And that's lack of accountability and a crap ton of excuses. Because we give ourselves excuses like candy. It's like easy excuses. Excuse after excuse after excuse. If you have somebody that can look at you in a loving way. And this is truth and love. That's why it goes together, truth and love. And they can say to you, you had an idea. You have a direction. You need to move forward, even if it's just a little bit each day. With any type of habit and consistency, you will succeed, and it will rewire your brain. So the excuses are no longer okay. That you will fight back with the excuses and you won't do them anymore. You won't give yourself excuses, because remember, anything that you make a priority, anything that's important to you, you will make a priority. Hi, Justin. Hi, Tara. Welcome in. Okay, so if it's important to you, you make it a priority. Okay, if it's important to you, you'll be consistent. If it's important to you, you'll stop making excuses. So when you're building this business and it's important to you, you learn. You learn. Okay, so we're trying to rewire our brain. Happy Friday, Miss Diane. Welcome in. We're talking about accountability versus excuses. Okay, so the term "I'll do it later" becomes "I don't do it anymore." Isn't that frustrating? That the things that you used to do, the things that you didn't even give yourself a second guess, you just did it, now becomes, oh, I don't want to do that. That is why I have said in previous Real Talks, you have to show up authentically. You have to show up in a way that you can sustain. Being authentically yourself is sustainable. Showing up authentically, can I help you? Showing up authentically means that you're showing up as yourself and you're not trying to be somebody else. Okay? All right. Busy does not equal productive. You can be busy and doing nothing. You can be busy and unfocused. You can be busy and not moving forward. Okay, so busy does not equal productive. So be aware of that, because you can be exhausting yourself, spinning your wheels, and not moving forward. That's not going to get you anywhere, okay? You can feel busy and be going nowhere. Avoidance feels like peace, but it's actually delay. If you're avoiding something, if you're avoiding doing fill in the blank, only you know your business. So fill in the blank. If you're avoiding doing blank, is that giving you peace? Are you getting peace out of not doing it? Or are you just delaying it? A lot of people who have joined me as creators here on Real Talk have shared with you that they wish they would have done it sooner. There are things that they wish they would have done it sooner. They wish they would have followed through with blank. Okay? I'm here to tell you that you can rewire your brain so that you are moving forward and you're not listening to your excuses anymore. And that when you have somebody that's helping you stay accountable, that frustration you feel when they're reminding you of what you said, it won't be as great because you're now used to it. It's a new habit for you. I'm going to be accountable to myself. I'm going to break through and get it done. Okay, so it's important. You already know what you should be doing. Okay, the gap is knowledge. It's execution, executing the idea, right? You don't need another video. You need action. You don't need clarity. You need courage. The longer you wait, the harder it feels to start. Hear me out. The longer you wait, the harder it feels to start. Okay, so ask the question. Put yourself out there. Okay, like yourself. Yeah, I said it. You have to like yourself. By liking yourself, all the things, all those negative thoughts, all the things that people think, people say, people share, blah, 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 it won't matter to you anymore. Because a lot of people say, I don't want to hit the live button because I'm afraid of what people will say. Let them. They're not doing it. The only ones that are talking are the ones not doing it. And if they even are talking, because really they don't care. When somebody says, who does Claudia think she is by sharing all this stuff? I'm a child of God. That is who I belong to, but I'm sharing this stuff because of my experience. And I know that I'm not the only one. I know that I'm not the only one struggling. I know I'm not the only one that thinks this way. I'm not the only one that's frustrated. Okay, so that's why I talk about it, because it needs to be talked about so that we can move forward from it. Okay, you hear people say all the time, oh, I don't want to join a group because it's money. Yeah, you invest in what you want to grow. Think about all the places you spend money right now. Do you spend money on streaming? Do you spend money on going out to eat? Do you spend money on buying gifts that end up in Goodwill? Yeah, I said it. I said it. Are you spending money where you shouldn't be spending money and not spending money on growing your business? That's the facts. That's the truth. Okay. We need, if we're serious about this business, we need to invest in it. Okay. We need to invest in our business, and we need to get knowledge, get accountability, and get information from those who have gone before us. It's necessary. I hate to point it out, but it's necessary. Anything that anybody has ever learned was taught to them by somebody else. It was taught to them by somebody else. Okay? And yes, there are ideas and creations that happen because that's the way that we were made. You see a problem, you solve a problem. Okay? You see a problem, you solve a problem. That's where ideas come from. That's where ideas come from. And because that's where ideas come from, we need to surround ourselves with people who are encouraging that. Okay? We need that encouragement, friends. We do. Okay? So if you're thinking of all the places you're spending money and none of them have to do with increasing what you're doing and getting you to that next level because you're learning from people who have done it, doing it by yourself guaranteed will take you so much longer. So much longer. I don't know about you, but me, around the people that I adore in my life, they don't want to talk ribbon. They don't want to hear me talk about business. Why? Because they're not in it. It's not passionate to them. But when I surround myself with others that are doing the exact same thing that I'm doing, people that have done it successfully and are teaching others how to do it too, there is nothing like it. There is nothing like it. It fuels the passion. Okay? It's like having a fire and the embers are like barely there. How are you gonna fuel that fire? You got to add more wood to it. Well, the wood that you're adding to that fire is other people sharing ideas, talking business, talking about, because let me tell you something. We can do the same thing, the exact same thing, and both be successful. There's no reason why you and I can't do the same thing and both be successful. There's no reason why. We can grow together. We can be great together. I believe in that wholeheartedly. Okay? One thing doesn't take away from another. It just doesn't. Having those people that surround you and are around you, that can inspire you, that can help you grow, it matters. Okay? Let's go into our second segment. There is enough room at the table for everyone. Diane, so true. And here's another one. If the table you are at no longer works for you, there are plenty of other tables. Okay? Because face it, we're human. And because we're human, we're broken. Okay? And not everybody is going to get along. And sometimes you're just together for a season and then you part ways. It's okay. Like all of those things are okay. It's the circle of life. It's how we're made. Every person has seasons in their life. And let me tell you something, just because you're no longer at the same table with somebody else, you're not going to take anything from that table if you walk away and go to another table. Does that make sense? Let me tell you something. There are good and bad in everything. Okay? There's good and bad in everything. And what you focus on grows. Okay? So if you focus on the good, then all you're going to see is good. If you focus on the not so good, that's what's going to come up every single time. So I encourage you, if the table you're at currently is not working for you for whatever reason, there are plenty of other tables to go to, okay? I always think of it as a cafeteria, okay, with a whole bunch of people in it, and you're walking around with a tray, and you're looking around to see where you can sit. If there's an open spot, take it. You don't have to ask permission. You don't have to show up any kind of way. Just sit down. Talk to people. Get to know people. Let people get to know you. Okay? Comparison is the thief of authenticity. So please do not compare yourself to others. Don't say things like, I don't talk like her. I fumble my words. My thoughts are scattered. I don't have that kind of confidence. Confidence is built. Confidence is built. It's not something that happens naturally. You need to be so comfortable with yourself, so darn comfortable with yourself that you can show up as you, and it doesn't matter whether people like you or not. Because there are going to be people that absolutely adore you, that connect with you, that look for you. Okay? They look for you in crowded spaces. Okay? That's the kind of relationships you want. You don't want to be around people that kind of cringe every time you come around, because it says more about them than it does about you. If people are cringing at your existence, that just means you're bringing out something in them, okay? But it has nothing to do with you, okay? So you keep shining bright. You keep showing up exactly as you are, because consistency matters. Okay, let's talk about broken self-trust, okay? Every time you don't follow through, you weaken your confidence. When you say that you're going to do something and you don't do it, you don't do it the next day. You don't do it the next week. You don't do it the next month. You're weakening your own confidence. You're causing yourself to not believe in you. Okay? Confidence is built through action, not thinking. Because we overthink. Why do we overthink? It's really not that deep. We can do anything we want to do. Imagine giving yourself permission to do the things that you want to do regardless of what anybody's going to think, because that's why we stop ourselves. We stop ourselves because we're worried about what people are going to say and people are going to think. Whatever, they're not living your life. They're not paying your bills. They're not doing anything for you. If they feel some kind of way, let them. It shouldn't stop you from showing up the way that you need to show up for yourself or for your business. You are always training yourself either to follow through or not. Again, that's what accountability does for you, right? Accountability is important because for some reason, if we do it for somebody, we'll do it for somebody else before we do it for ourselves. I don't know why. I don't know why. But we need to start thinking of ourselves that way. If we wouldn't say it to our best friend, if we wouldn't say it to our child, why are we saying things to ourselves that we wouldn't say to somebody else? Why are we doing that to ourselves? Why are we allowing that conversation to happen in our heads that should never happen? Right, Diane? It is so true. Broken promises to yourself matter than broken promises to others. Because it's so natural for us to not follow through for ourselves. Why? It doesn't make us humble. It doesn't make humility is not part of it. Why do we break promises to ourselves? We are given a purpose on purpose to fulfill a purpose. So why are we not following through? Why are we not putting ourselves out here? Why are we not sharing the goodness that we have been given? We are so beautifully, wonderfully made. We are created to be in community, and yet we are so isolated. And that is what I want to share with you. You don't need to be isolated. Stop isolating yourselves. Hi, Shona. How are you, friend? Stop isolating yourselves. Can you do this by yourself? Yes. Is it going to be lonely? Yes. Are you going to be burnt out? Yes. Okay. So start thinking of ways that you can put yourself out here. You've normalized not doing what you said you were going to do. Don't do that to yourself. Don't normalize that. Think about how many fantastic ideas you've had that you've literally talked yourself out of. You need to stop that, because the wonderful ideas are going to be what makes whatever you do to that next level. To that next level, because you were created to move forward. All the stuff that happens in life that cause us to struggle and feel some kind of way, all of those things are going to happen regardless, right? The things that we can't control, we can't control them. But the thing that we can control is what we tell ourselves. Our mindset. We can focus on positive things. Focus on trusting yourself. Focus on building a community that you're not only proud to be a part of, okay, but you're loved and nourished and supported within it. And that's important. Okay, you don't trust your own plans anymore. That's why you don't get excited, because you don't believe you'll follow through. Do you see how we do that to ourselves? Like, we do that to ourselves. Nobody does that to us. We do it to ourselves. Okay, so part of if we don't trust what we're saying, we don't trust we're going to follow through, if we don't trust ourselves, then that in itself is what's causing the delays in our breakthrough. Motivation dies when self-trust is broken. You don't need hype. You need proof. So follow through. And here's the thing. Don't promise yourself you're going to do a whole bunch of stuff. Start small. Start with one thing that you can follow through on and do it. Do it. Okay? Don't let fear, false evidence appearing real, don't let fear stop you from being the best that you can be. Showing up the best that you can show up. Okay? Talk to that fear with truth. When you are scared of something, go ahead and give me something in the comments that you're scared of, and I'll talk truth to it. But when you're scared of something and you speak truth to that fear, you start to believe that truth, and that fear doesn't have power anymore. So I'm going to share fear of going live. What's scary about it? You push a button. That's not scary. You're talking to a screen. That's not scary. Okay? You control what you do on this side of the screen. So if you're not comfortable talking, then play some music. Don't talk. Talk only when spoken to, if that's what makes you comfortable. You can start somewhere, but don't let fear stop you from showing up for yourself. Okay? Those are the things that you regret. You don't regret what you do. You regret what you don't do. Talk to anybody on their deathbed. yeah, a little morbid, but I'm sharing this with you. People always regret the things that they didn't do, the things that they didn't put themselves out there to do. Okay? And fear is what stopped them. So don't let fear, false evidence appearing real, keep you from doing the things that you know you should be doing for yourself, for your business, for your family, for your goals, for whatever. Fill in the blank. Okay? But fear shouldn't be the reason why you don't do something. That's an excuse. Fear is an excuse because it's the fears that we have aren't true. They're just not. Okay? Big goals don't work when small habits aren't solid. So we got to build ourselves good habits to make our big goals a reality. Okay? Doing things that scare you, putting yourself out there. Don't allow yourself to stay stunted. Okay? People are going to love you and gravitate towards you. But if you have an online business, how are people going to trust to shop with you if they don't know you? It's not like they can walk into your store. They can't walk into your store and become a regular of your store, right? They need to get to know you. And how do they get to know you? This is how they get to know you, okay? Stop setting goals you don't respect. What does that mean? Stop setting goals you don't respect. If you were watching somebody doing fill in the blank and you're like, I need to do that, I need to do that, you're going to constantly be chasing what everybody else is doing and you're not going to be authentic to yourself. Do this, do that, do the other, do this. That's exhausting. Nobody can keep up with that pace. Nobody can keep up at that pace. So you've got to show up the way that you need to show up for your business. If you can sustain it, if you're authentic, then you'll be able to show up exactly the way that you need to. Hello, Miss Emily. Happy Friday. It's Good Friday today, guys. Don't forget who went to the cross for us so that we could live a life for him. And that's why I try to be a positive light in this community, in this online world. Okay? Because we can be so filled with all kinds of stuff consistently, always. You know, all the things that are just so noisy around us. I want to be a positive voice for you, for your business, for what you're trying to create, and reminding you you're not alone. Okay? You're not alone in this. Stop over-promising and under-delivering to yourself. If you have set yourself a goal so big, it's such a big goal, how are you going to reach that goal? Have you heard of people saying that they work the goal backwards? They work it backwards to figure out the beginning. Like they literally take that goal. Okay, so before this can happen, this has to happen. Before that can happen, this has to happen. Don't forget that before that happens, this has to happen. So there are steps to get to those big goals. Again, you're climbing. You're climbing up. Okay. Sometimes you reach a goal that you're just staying right here, right? You're hanging out here for a minute. This goal is a little harder right now before I can get to this goal. But as long as you're continuing the climb, it doesn't matter where you are on that rung, and be realistic with setting your goals. Okay, be realistic. Some things are going to take a little longer, but you have to put in the work in order to reach it, right? Okay. Discipline builds identity, and identity builds consistency. So disciplines, okay? Discipline, not like punishment, okay? So don't think of discipline as punishment. My head just went there. I'm like, discipline sounds like a punishment. No, discipline means something that you're going to do, something you're going to build, something you're going to work on, habits you're going to form that are going to move you forward, okay? It takes a while to build a habit, and then it becomes routine. Okay? First, building habits, building routines become a discipline. Once you build a discipline, then you know who you are. Who you are, how you're showing up, that becomes your identity. Okay? Your identity means that you can now show up consistently in that identity, in what you've identified as yourself. You don't need to believe in yourself more. You need to prove to yourself that you can follow through. Let me say that again. You don't need to believe in yourself more. You need to prove to yourself you can follow through, because that's the thing. We are okay with lying to ourselves, and I don't understand it. Like when I catch myself, I'm like, why did I do that? Why is it that I can't keep a promise to myself? Why is it that I can't be accountable to myself? Why is it that it frustrates me when somebody's helping me be accountable and they're asking me about it? See, look, Diane just said, I am so bad at follow through. Diane, work it backwards. I want to be better at follow through. What does that mean? When I say something, I write it down. Okay, so I write it down. When I write it down, I'm reading it. When I'm reading it, I'm following it. When I'm following it, I'm doing it. Work it backwards. Don't tell yourself, I'm so bad at follow through. That's an excuse, and then it becomes like something you just don't do. I'm bad at it, so I'm not even going to do it. That's how we work it backwards. And that's what we need to do anytime we want to work on something. Because imagine this, Diane, okay? You start working on follow through, and a month from now, it's better. 2 months from now, you can't say that anymore. 3 months from now, Diane is fantastic at follow through. She really has worked hard, and she is now excellent at follow through. That's an amazing way of thinking. Amazing way of thinking. Why aren't we all doing that? You know, see the problem for what it is and work it backwards. Work it so that you can do it and be better at it. Okay? We're going to go on to excuses. Because I don't know about you, but I bet you a lot of us can say, I'm good at excuses. I can come up with excuses on the fly. Not something to be proud of, my community. Being good at excuses is not something to be proud of. Okay? We need to get out of that habit, okay? Excuses are always available. There will always be a reason not to do something. Excuses feel valid. That's why they're dangerous. We can make excuses for everything. Everything. You can justify staying the same forever. I don't have time. That means it's not a priority. I'm tired. I choose comfort. I don't know how. I haven't tried yet. I'll start tomorrow. Gosh, that one hits me because I'm like, I'll start tomorrow. It's too late to start today. I'll start tomorrow. I'm avoiding today. My cat just moved my camera. Excuse her. Excuses protect you from discomfort. Excuses protect you from failure. That comes from lying to ourselves. That comes from every time we say we're going to do something, we don't follow through. We don't do it. We need to stop that roller coaster. We need to stop that. It's a bad ride. Let's get off of that roller coaster and move on to something that's going to get us to where we need to go. Okay? Getting off that roller coaster. Excuses protect you from failure. My friend Lindsay reminded us recently, okay, that you will learn far more from your failures than you ever will from your successes. What does that mean? If you're failing because you're trying, you're at least moving forward. Okay, you're at least doing something that could be successful. Or maybe it doesn't work this time, but it'll work next time. Maybe you need to tweak it a little. Maybe you need to change a few things. But you will far, far grow further, farther more if you're failing forward. Right, Emily? That is a good point. But that is so true. It is so true. And this is why you need to surround yourself and listen to things and watch things. Like the time that you're spending, value your time. Value your time. It's the most precious thing that you can give to anything or anyone. Think of it. Okay? Think about your time. You get 24 hours. 24 hours. That's it. Every day you get 24 hours. How are you using those 24 hours? What is helping you build the life that you want? What is helping you build the relationships that you want? What is helping you build your future? Time is so absolutely precious. And I was reminded so deeply of that because I lost somebody that I knew that was a pillar of our community. She was 4 years younger than me. She died instantly, no warning. Time is precious, and how you spend your time and what you think and what you put your thoughts to matters. So protect your time. Protect your peace. Okay? Focus on positivity. Focus on good things. Do not beat yourself up over things that you want to grow in. Figure out how to grow in them. Don't beat yourself up about them. You struggle with being, a follow through person. Like if you struggle with wanting to follow through, then what are you going to do to fix it? Because saying that you're bad about it isn't fixing it. It's acknowledging it, but how do you fix it? Emily, some days you feel frozen, numb, right? Life can throw things at you that cause you to disconnect from reality to protect yourself. There are struggles in this life that are struggles, okay? And you have to protect your mindset, my friends. I cannot express that enough. See, I'm a Bible believing Christian. I love Jesus. He is in my everyday conversations. He is the one I lean on. He's the one I go to. He's the one I go to first when it comes to anything that I need to process, and he gives me peace. My peace is found in him. He was a perfect person that died for me on the cross. He died for my sins. He died because he believed in me enough. He died for every single one of us, whether you believe in him or not. Okay, that is a Savior that I want to love and I want to be like, but I am not him. Okay, I fall severely short. Okay, but he did it for me and he did it for you. So therefore, all of these things, all of this crazy stuff that we tell ourselves, all of these crazy places that we get stuck in, that is worldly stuff. That is of this world. That is not of him. So when we focus on the here, right here, okay, we can get stuck. We can feel frozen because it's right here. But when we hand those things over and don't pick them back up and be like, hey, God, this is yours. I can't do it. It changes your perspective. It can absolutely rock your world. Okay, because he doesn't want us to suffer. He wants us to rely on him. He wants us to rely on him. He's guiding me through my very difficult journey in my new life. Yes. Candy, yes, surrender every day, everything every day. Because when I tell you, friend, the moment that you realize that you don't control absolutely anything, you are not in control of anything. Okay? You have no control over anything. That frees you in a way that I can't even describe to you. That frees you so much, because then you're not thinking about controlling everything. Candy, I talk to Jesus all day. I know. And I'm good with it. And let me tell you something. I'm really so okay with it that when people ask me who my best friend is, my best friend's Jesus. Okay? Because he's going to be there far longer than any of y'all. Sorry, but that is true. Okay? He's going to be there on my bad days, going to be there on my good days, going to be on the hills and the valleys with me. Okay? And when I go see Jesus, when I go in front of my Lord and Savior, I'm going to thank him for taking on the heaviness of this life, because it's heavy. It's heavy and it's hard, but it doesn't have to be, because Jesus, if you say, yeah, I feel this way, but God took, he took it all to the cross for us. Leave it at the feet of the cross, friends. Leave it at the feet of the cross. He will get you to where he wants you to go. The reason why we say it is well with my soul, you know the song? It is well with my soul. Because when you have a heart for God, when you have a heart for Jesus, he gives you the plans. He gives you the plans. He gives you the purpose. He gives you the peace that surpasses all understanding. He gives it to you. He is the one that gives it to you. I sometimes question his actions, but I know it's for a reason. We are not to know the why. We are not to know the why. Okay? We barely know the how. But how many times has something happened in your life where you can look back and say, oh, that's why I had to do that. That's why I had to go through that. That's why that had to happen. God is showing us that he is in the details. That's why it says that he takes all of our tears. Okay? He is in those details. Emily, it's okay. He can handle it. He can handle it. Shona, I trust you, Lord. Yes. Yes, he is faithful. He is sovereign. He is real, and he's alive. Okay, and that's why I'm able to come to you. That's why I'm able to be here with you on Fridays to talk about your struggles, talk about where you're stuck, to talk to you about all the places that we aren't moving forward for the plan, the purpose, and the dream that he put in our hearts. Okay, he put this on our hearts, and by building this community of people that we can lean on, go to, and be pointed to him each and every time, getting pointed back to the one, then we're going to be okay. We're going to do good things, okay? Because I know that this world is dark. I get it. Fully understand that, okay? But you know what a candle does in a dark room. You know what a candle does in a dark room. You were called to be the light. You were called to be the light. Each one of you were called to be the light. Don't focus on the world. Don't focus on the bad. Okay? Look for the good and you'll find it. Look for everything that's good and well and bright and you will find it. And that is what we're doing within our businesses, within building these things that nobody gave us a blueprint for. But we're trusting that God's going to guide us through, okay? Excuses don't stop your growth. They just make sure it never starts. Who does that sound like? Does that sound like something God would do for us? No. No. So we need to focus on being positive, accountability, and all of these groups that are out there. all of these wonderful communities and groups that are out here. The reason why they've put themselves out there, the ones that have decided to open up these groups, the reason why they put themselves out there is because they saw a need. It's something that they needed themselves. They needed a place where they could come together with other like-minded people and build something. We're building sustainable financial systems for our families. We're getting financially out of debt. We're paying for college. We're doing all of these wonderful things with handmade items, handmade goodness, which is what we were created to do. Guys, we were created to work with our hands. We were created to help one another. We were created to be in community. Okay, so don't stick your nose up to all of these groups that are out there or wonder why people aren't sharing things for free. Because they've got the knowledge, but they also need to make a living. So you think of, like I said, think about the things you pay for, the things you subscribe to. Okay? The time you spent scrolling endlessly on social media platforms. Think about all of those things and all that time that you spend doing those things. Is that time and money well spent? That's what I question. I question if that's time and money well spent. All right, let's talk about fear. They have had the struggles and their advice is invaluable. Right, Emily? They've been where you are and they just want to help you. It's not laziness. These excuses, it's not laziness, it's fear. Fear of failure. What if I try and it doesn't work? Fear of success. What if I can't keep up? I remember somebody in my group had said, you know, I don't want to do that because I don't want to be controlled by the sales. I don't want to have to stop what I'm doing because I'm getting all the sales. Hi, Michelle. That's a fear, right? But you have control over that. If you want to set your shipping dates further out, you can do that. If you don't want to be tethered to your workshop, you can manage that. You can take care of that. Okay, but don't let it stop you from creating something that is going to free you financially, build a business so that you can look back at the end of your life and say, hey, I'm proud of that. I'm proud I did that. Yes, it was hard. Yes, it grew me. This will grow you far more than anything else will. This will grow you and stretch you and put you in things and places that you never thought you would be. Okay? Because I'll be honest with you, I never thought that I would have my own handmade home decor business. That was never a thought for me. Okay? I have always, my jobs, what I do has always fit around what my family does. For example, you know, when I met my husband, I worked as an executive assistant for a pharmaceutical company. We then had our oldest daughter, and I knew that I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. I wanted to be with our children. I'm the one that wanted to be with our kids. So we had our daughter, and then she got to be 18 months old and decided that she wanted to go to preschool. She's the one that wanted to go to preschool. And I became a preschool teacher. Yes, I became a preschool teacher because that was the only way we could afford for her to go to preschool because we were living on one income. Okay. So I became a preschool teacher. Along comes child number 2. I again stay home because I want to be with our kids, and she couldn't start preschool till she was 2. So during that time, I took that time off and I became just a parent for the preschool. So I created programs within the preschool. I saw a need and I created a program. You know, moms that had kids in our preschool, we had two extremes. We had poverty, and then we had elite. That was just, I mean, we had both the high end and the low end at the same place. Okay. So I put it out there. Why don't we offer a swap where people could bring stuff, gently used clothes, gently used baby items, kids' toys and stuff that they're going to donate anyway and set them out for families to come and look. And it didn't cost anybody anything, and it didn't take anything away from anybody. So what happens is that those that were in need would come and get stuff that they needed for their child. And that program still exists today. And I am so super proud of that. Okay. I had an idea. I didn't know how it was going to work. And then whatever was left over after the swap happened, whatever was left over, that got donated. So it was a secular thing. It was perfect. And then when, you know, my daughter again turned 2 and went and started school, then I went back to teaching. But then we moved from Florida to Tennessee, and I started working in the preschool systems up here, and that didn't last very long. It lasted a couple of years, and I was done. I was done wiping noses and butts, is what I say. I was done wiping noses and butts. Honestly, I was done potty training the parents, if I'm super honest. So then I went back into what I had done previously. I'm an executive assistant again for a publishing house up in Tennessee. So I've always done things too that fit my family's needs. But then I became an empty nester. And actually, let me back up. Then I became a remote worker. Let's talk about that for a minute. When everything shut down, I started working from home, and my creativity, the things that I used to be able to do inside my business where I was working with authors and everything else, I didn't realize how much of my creativity was filled with that. But then everything shut down and my job responsibilities changed, and I needed something to do for me. So I started making wreaths, and then I started making wreaths for others. And then I started going to craft shows. And the thought of opening up an Etsy scared the bejesus out of me. Like, I was like, what? I don't, no. It was a control thing. It was a control thing, 1000% a control thing, because I can control how I make something. I can make sure that I'm using the best quality stuff. I can make sure that it's pristine and beautiful and ready to go to somebody's home. But once I put it in a box, then it becomes something that is out of my control, because I can't be sure that it's being handled with kit hands, loving kindness, that it's going to get to the person exactly how I put it in the box. So all of that to say, Etsy was not something I was looking to do. It just wasn't, because of fear. If I would have let the fear of doing that control my actions, I wouldn't have an online business. I wouldn't even be here talking to you all about this. But I saw a need in the community where people need to find their people and relate to others, and where people can see exactly where others are struggling, so that they can say, hey, I struggled with that too. This worked for me. It might work for you. Exactly. I had a missing box from the USPS, spent yesterday dealing with it. Exactly. There are things that are in your control and things that are out of your control, but that shouldn't stop you from taking a chance, for taking a risk, for building something, right? So fear. Okay. So that came from fear of what if I can't keep up? That's where this whole conversation came from. Fear of being seen, fear of being judged, fear of wasting time, fear of doing it wrong. That fear of doing it wrong. How can you do it wrong? You can't do it wrong. If you're showing up as yourself, if you're showing up the way that you can show up and you can be consistent and it can be sustainable, you can't do it wrong. It's when you're trying to compare or do it like somebody else, that's where you can do it wrong. She goes, nope, but I learned something. What did you learn, Emily? What did you learn having a lost USPS box? Hi, Miss Angel. Thanks for the cake. And the heart, me friend. Okay, the reasons that those fears can wreak havoc. You are overthinking instead of doing. You are waiting to feel ready. You never will. You'll never feel ready. Okay, my mama friends, and even my daddy friends, my papa friends. Anyway, the father. There's no good way of saying that. Don't laugh at me. Okay. So, were you ready to have kids? Were you really ready to have children? How to deal with customers' anger and how it's not my fault. I did my best and that was out of my control. Yep. You will never feel ready, says Michelle. You just have to go for it. And that is so true. You can't, you're never going to feel ready. Like I said, comparing it to parenthood, I thought I was ready. Oh no, I was, not, I always say nothing will teach you more than being a parent, because the things that you think are really not true. They're just not. They're not true. You are trying to avoid discomfort. Growth always feels uncomfortable. And I know people say this all the time. They don't like change. That's uncomfortable. Change is uncomfortable, and I get that. But if you continue with that conversation, when did you have the biggest growth? It's when you did it, when you weren't ready and you were uncomfortable. I stepped into it being a step parent to 10 and 12-year-old boys. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You will always grow the most when you're uncomfortable, when you're doing the uncomfortable thing. When you get out of your comfort zone, you grow. That is when you grow the most. Okay? You're not stuck, you're hesitating. You're not behind, you're avoiding. You're not confused, you're delaying. Fear doesn't go away before action, it fades after. Okay? So you're still going to be scared. You're still going to be scared. Fear doesn't go away. Okay, it doesn't go away, but it does fade. Okay, think about when you learned how to drive a car. Think about when you learned how to drive a car. I apparently traumatized my kids by telling them that a car is literally a lethal weapon. You are literally a lethal weapon. I wasn't wrong, but it puts it in perspective. It puts it in perspective. So stop protecting yourself from discomfort. Stop protecting yourself from discomfort. It'll keep you stuck. It'll keep you stuck, and that's not what we want. We want to continue to move forward. We want to continue to grow, okay? Are you ready to move on? We're moving on to an identity problem. I said it, an identity problem. You say you want a business, but you act like a hobbyist. Anybody guilty? Anybody? Say you want to be a business, but you act like a hobbyist. You show up when it's inconvenient. How do you make something convenient? How does it become convenient? You stop when it's uncomfortable. You have to make time. Yes, Emily. Yes. You start more than you finish. I might be guilty of that. I've started a lot of things that I didn't finish. That's not good for me. It's not good for my business. It's not good for you, and it's not good for your business. Your habits don't match your goals. Is anybody else a goal? Do you write your goals down? Does anybody else write their goals down? Do you write your goals down? What habits are you forming to reach those goals? Gotta have the habits to reach the goals. You are operating from your current identity, not your desired one. The things you tell yourself matters. You have to listen to that voice in your head and decide if it's the one that you want to listen to. If it's negative, if it's telling you all the things that you're not doing, and it's reminding you of all the things you haven't accomplished. You need to tell it truth, and you need to accomplish those things. You have to for your own sanity and your own growth. Emily says consistency. You are operating from your current identity, not your desired one. I'm saying it again because you decide what you want your identity to be and start operating from that identity that you want. Okay? You're waiting to feel like a business owner instead of acting like one. You're never gonna feel, what does that even mean? You're never gonna feel like a business owner, but you need to act like one. You need to act like a business owner, right? If that's what you want, you need to act like a business owner. Step it up. Step it up, friends. Success requires a version of you you're not used to yet. Success requires a version of you that you're not used to yet. You have to think of yourself as a business owner. Repeat after me. I am a successful business owner. I am a successful business owner. Regardless of whether it's true or not, the more you say it, the more you're going to believe it, the more you're going to act like it, and you're not going to keep yourself from being it. Success requires a version of you you're not used to yet. You are unfamiliar with discipline. You are unfamiliar with consistency. You are unfamiliar with structure. Just because you're unfamiliar with those things doesn't mean you can't gain familiarity. Okay, that's not a good word for Claudia. With it. You need to be familiar with it. You need to get comfortable in it. You need to get comfortable with it so that you can then show up that way. Okay? You default back to what's comfortable. If you're not consistent and you're not disciplined and you don't have structure and that's comfortable for you, then why the heck are you trying to build a business? Why are you trying to build a business? So you need to ask yourself these hard things, okay? And that's where accountability can come in. Accountability can keep you talking in the positive realm, in the positive, what you see, okay? What you want to see, what you want to be, how you want to show up, okay? Growth requires you to become something new. It does. Growth requires you to become something new, something different, something better, a better version of yourself, okay? But you have to believe it. You have to believe it. You don't rise to your goals, you fall to your habits. Does anybody want to write that one down? You don't rise to your goals, you fall to your habits. So if you don't have good habits, then you're going to not be successful. That's just a fact. That's truth with love. Your identity is shaping your results. So how you believe in yourself, how you show up for yourself, how you think for yourself, that's what's going to shape your results. That is what's going to shape your results. You don't become successful and then act like it. You act like it until you become who you want to be. Okay? You've got to believe that you're a successful person. Think about the people that you've watched that get under your skin. Because I know there are people that get under your skin. Why? You need to be more curious than hateful. Okay? You need to ask yourself, why does that person get under my skin? Why does it bother me? Okay? Because that says more about you than it ever does about them. And a lot of times it's because they've got something that you're lacking or you want and haven't figured out how to get there. That's why it bothers you. Be more curious. Be more curious as to why somebody doing exactly what you want to do bothers you so much, comes across as cocky, right? It really just irks you. It makes you feel some kind of way. There's a reason. And it's not because of them. It's not because of them. It's easy to call them names or label them or tell yourself something that's not true because that's where you're comfortable. But if they're bothering you that much, if they're causing you to feel some kind of way, you really need to look at yourself. You need to look at yourself and ask yourself why. Why? It only helps you grow. You want to find out what excuses are costing you? Remember we talked about time and how precious time is, and tomorrow isn't promised. Tomorrow isn't promised, okay? So time is passing away. You're either building or you're delaying, okay? You're either building or you're delaying. Every day you don't show up matters. Exactly, Angel. It's not the other person's issue. It's your problem. Absolutely. Every day you don't show up matters. Every single day that you don't show up matters. All the things that you're pushing off to tomorrow, all the things that you're not allowing yourself to do, all the things that you're telling yourself that, oh, you'll just do it tomorrow. And then you realize tomorrow comes and tomorrow has its own problems and its own things, and tomorrow becomes the next day. Time is precious, okay? You are losing visibility. You are losing momentum. You're losing confidence. And you're losing opportunities. And all of this means you're losing income. You are staying in the same place. Nothing changes if nothing changes. Nothing changes if nothing changes. You're welcome, Angel. And I see this as more than a pep talk. I think of it as I'm going through this. I'm speaking to myself as much as I'm speaking to you all. You know, I needed this, so I figured somebody else might need it too. The longer you wait, the harder it gets. The future you is paying for current you's excuses. The future you is paying for the current you's excuses. I think about how much further along I would be if I didn't take 2 years to focus on something that literally fell apart. If I didn't focus so much, if I didn't take so much focus on helping so many other people over myself, I would be further along. But I can't go backwards. I can't go back. I can't change. I can only move forward. I can only move forward. Lesson learned. Lesson learned. And I needed to learn that lesson. Okay? And God's taken me right through it. God's taken me right through it. He's already forgiven me, already shown me mercy, already given me all the love and comfort that I need. But now he's moving me forward. Okay? You did it. Now we're going to move out of it. So I'm saying this to myself. This is me, but I figured I'd share it with you all. Okay? You're welcome, Angel. You're welcome. You can't expect results from inconsistent effort. Okay? Michelle, change is hard, but that is where growth comes from. I struggle with change. Michelle, I get it. I get it. You can't outdream your habits. Okay? So all of this has to do with the things that you do regularly on a regular basis. If you're not building things to move you forward, you're staying stuck. You're staying stuck if you're not moving forward, if you're not creating the habits that are going to get you to reach to the next thing, okay? The life you want is being delayed by the choices you're making daily. So that goes back to, are you a business owner or is this just a habit? Or not a habit, a hobby? Are you a business owner or this is just a hobby? And only you can decide that for yourself. And only you can look at the things that you're doing that isn't moving you forward, okay? Now let's talk about what accountability looks like, okay? Showing up when you don't feel like it. Showing up when you don't feel like it. Doing the boring things. Everything has a boring thing. Everything has a boring thing, okay? Repeating simple actions daily. Okay, this is what accountability looks like. Finishing what you start. That right there is highlighted, exclamation points all the way across. I mean, all the things. It is so important to finish what you start and to not continue to put it off till tomorrow. It is so important, so important, so important. Okay? Finish what you start. Keep promises to yourself, like keeping the promises you make to yourself. Keep those promises. Keep those promises. If you tell yourself you're going to do something, keep that promise, because eventually you'll start believing yourself again. And you're like, Claudia, what are you talking about? How many promises have you broken to yourself? You've broken a ton of promises to yourself. And because it's so normal, you don't believe yourself anymore. So keeping promises to yourself. And then here's the other part. Do it anyway. Regardless of the excuses. Even if they're legitimate excuses. Even if it's not an excuse that you're just like, I'm tired. I can't because of blah, 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 blah. What you prioritize, what you make important, what you put first, those things are what gets watered. Those things are what grow. Okay? So if you have a negative thought process and you continue to water it by listening to other negative people or like things that are feeding the things that you already believe, that's not going to help you grow. That's not going to help your business grow. You know, taking imperfect action. So you don't know how to do something. How are you going to figure it out? What are you going to do? Sometimes it's just doing it that you figure it out while doing it. That's important. Not waiting for motivation. Oh my word. Half the time, nobody feels like doing it, no matter what it is. You know, especially if it's hard or you don't know how. Negativity makes negativity grow. So does positivity. Positivity makes positivity grow too. Not waiting for motivation. Okay, so don't wait till you're motivated. Do it anyway. Okay, do it anyway. Do it whether you know how to do it or not. It's that whole failing forward thing. You'll get far more successful doing it anyway. Build routines. Build routines. Those are those habits that we need to get into the habit of. Create structure. Create structure. If that means that if you follow a routine, okay, that builds structure. At first it's hard because it's new, because it's change, but then by doing it, it becomes habit and it becomes structure, okay? Being consistent, not perfect. Perfect is unrealistic. Do not worry about perfection. Perfection is not real, okay? Only one person ever walked this world, walked this earth that was perfect, and it isn't me and it isn't you. We are not meant to be perfect at all. There's no such thing as perfect, okay? Tracking what you do. Tracking what you do. Be sure that you're celebrating the wins, that you did it. You did it hard. You did it anyway. Celebrate that stuff. Being honest about your effort. Be honest with yourself. You know, sometimes it's really, if you have to pivot in some area so that you can continue moving forward, then pivot. You're not doing anything wrong as long as you're doing something. You're not doing it wrong as long as you're doing something. Own your results. Own it. Own it. If you did something and it didn't work out, own it. Move on from it. Pivot from it. Okay? Just because something didn't work the first time doesn't make it a bad idea. Go look at the people that learned how to fly a plane or made a plane to fly it. Imagine, have you ever thought about that? Imagine if people had that idea and didn't follow through with it. Travel wouldn't be a convenience if somebody didn't take an idea and run with it. Guys, I'm telling you, the more you think about all the things that we wouldn't have today because somebody didn't keep trying or move forward even though they didn't know the answers, or try it regardless, failing forward, I'm telling you, there's so much we wouldn't have and we wouldn't do. Okay? Stay in the game. Do not quit. Do not put it down. If you started this, it's because you need to continue this. Hear your friend. Do not quit. Stay in the game. Okay? Whatever you're doing that's making you think about quitting, you're lying to yourself. You're allowing that lie to penetrate you. Okay? Because when you look around your space, you started this because it did something good for you. Okay? It did something good for you. It helped your mental health. It gave you peace. It gave you clarity. It gave you joy. Don't quit it. Okay? Maybe you need to pivot. Maybe you need to think about it differently, but don't quit. Okay? Accountability is doing it anyway. Are we still together here? Are you still with me? Are you hearing me? I hear you, Angel. I needed to hear it too, friend. You don't need motivation. You need a plan. You don't need hype. You need habits. Small actions daily beat big actions rarely. Okay? Small actions daily beat big actions rarely. What does that mean? If you start building your actions, your small stuff, the things that you need to build up to the big stuff, you change little things, tweak little things. If you just fulfill your promises to yourself, if you say you're going to do something, do it. Even if it doesn't work out the way that you thought, even if it turns into something that you did, that's not what you wanted, do it anyway. Do it anyway. Keep it simple. Don't overthink, guys. Don't overthink. Overthinking makes you stop. Overthinking makes you not do it. Okay, so don't overthink. Keep it simple. Keep it small. If it's so scary, it's because it's going to be so good. If it's something that really makes you feel like, oh my gosh, if I do this, what is that going to mean? How's it going to look? What is it going to do? That's because you're supposed to do it. Anything that gives you fear or scares you, that's because you're supposed to do it. That's how that works. It's important, and you need to follow through. Define daily non-negotiables. Define them for yourself. okay? But creating structure matters. Repetition builds results. Actions build clarity. Progress builds confidence. Have you ever looked at somebody and said, how are they so confident? How do they have that confidence? They built it. They built it by showing up for themselves, by showing up for their business, for not listening to that little voice inside that caused them to have fear. Because I promise you, if you start asking yourself, what if I didn't care what anybody thought? What would I be doing right now? If I didn't care what anybody was going to say or what anybody thought, what would I be doing right now? Ask yourself that. Done is better than perfect. So you start messy, you keep going, you track your effort, and you stay consistent. Okay? Success is built on what you repeat, not what you start. So all those things that you want to be doing for your business, all those places that you know you need to be in order to grow your business, you need to start that. You need to start it and keep it going. Okay? So this is where accountability and community work, okay? You are not meant to do this alone. You're not. You're not meant to do this alone. Isolation feeds excuses. Accountability increases follow through. People perform better when they feel seen. Think about that. People perform better when they feel seen. Community creates pressure in a good way. Community creates pressure in a good way. You know, if you're in a community and you're all building the same thing, the same businesses together, you're doing it together. You're building community. Yes, there are going to be people who are going to see success before you do. And yes, there are going to be people that are behind you that are still going to be working all the steps to get where you are. So in community, we can all build in the same direction together. And we don't need to compare ourselves to others because we're all on a different journey. We are all on our own journey and it's all going to be different. And that's good. That's good. Okay. Support creates momentum. Okay, so having people on your side, that creates momentum. You need someone who will ask you the hard questions. I promise you, if somebody is taking the time to ask you the hard questions, they're not doing it because they don't like you or they think that they're better than you or they want to see you fail. They're asking you the hard questions because they want to see you succeed. Why else would they do that? Why else would anybody else why would they take the time to do that if they didn't want you to succeed? They didn't want to see you succeed. Okay? You need someone who won't let you off the hook. You need someone like that. You need someone that won't let you off the hook. That every time that they think about you, they know. Because a lot of times it's easier to be accountable to somebody else than it is to be accountable to yourself. I didn't say it was right, but that's what we need. Emily, you ask me those questions a lot. I'm telling you, there's a reason, right? It helps me to think about it. Emily, I get you. I hear you. You know, I am to you the person that I need for me. Okay? I need somebody to ask me hard questions. I need somebody to point me in directions to get me off the path of where I'm headed because it's not the right path. We all need that, right? Growth happens faster together. Growth happens faster together. You can't hide in accountability. Thank you, Miss Angel. Thank you. You can't hide in accountability. Okay, we all need that. You show up differently when someone is watching. Do you realize that? You show up differently when someone is watching, when you know somebody is watching, and community offers that for you. So we have to think about, when we're in a community, what kind of community member are we? Are we one that feels that everybody's successes is our success too, because we're on the journey together? Are you that type of person that, oh my gosh, I'm in community with this person and I see them soaring and I am like, it feels like it's my success because I've been on this journey with them? But if you're the type of person, I'm debating with myself in my head if I'm going to go there, but because this is a real talk, I'm going to give it to you real. If you're the type of person that sees somebody else's success and makes you feel passive aggressive about it and makes you be ugly towards them and you gaslight them because their success makes you feel some kind of way, then maybe you don't need to be in a community. Maybe you need to go take some time for yourself and fix that, because somebody else's success does not take away from yours. Somebody else being successful should make you feel like, hey, somebody is building something that I want to build and they're successful at it, which means that I can be successful too because they've shown me that they can be successful. That's what you should feel. That's what you should think. That's how it should be in a community. Okay? I said what I said. I said what I said. You need structure outside of yourself sometimes. Sometimes you need structure outside of yourself sometimes. If somebody can make you think a different way, okay? If somebody can make you think a certain way based on the questions that they're asking you to answer yourself, I'm not going to ask you a question I haven't already asked myself. I'm not going to tell you something that I haven't already done myself. But because it worked for me doesn't mean it's going to work for you. Because I think differently based on my experiences, just like you think differently based on your experiences. Okay? So if somebody's coming to you and talking to you about what they see going on, and you haven't seen it, and you can't be honest with yourself because you don't see whatever it is, it doesn't make that person wrong. It doesn't make that person better than you, but it should make you think. You want to be around people that make you think differently than you think, because it's like I said, this is can be very lonely if you're not talking about things, if you're not putting yourself out there. Okay? Thinking things through, processing things, thinking of things differently. Gaining other perspectives helps you form a better opinion, a better thought, a better idea, period. Okay, so I will always say that you're better in community than you are by yourself. Okay? Just putting it out there. I'm going to go ahead and start wrapping this up. Okay, because I've talked for a long time because I'm very passionate about being accountable and stop making all the excuses. Very passionate about it because I fall into this and I don't want to. I want to be better than I was yesterday. I want to be better than I was last month. I want to be better than I was last year. Okay? That's the goal. So you already know what to do. You've heard it before. There's nothing new here, okay? The difference is action. The difference is decision. The difference is follow through. You can keep doing what you've been doing, or you can choose differently. You can stay where you are, or you can move forward. The choice is truly yours. Nobody is coming to save you. Nobody is coming to do this for you. That is on you. And that's the good news, because that means you can change it. You can choose it. You can value your time enough. You can value your giftedness enough to move forward, to change habits, to be in a community, to create the business you want. But a lot of it has to do with mindset and habits and the things that you do today and the excuses that you make and the things that you believe and the fear that you listen to. All of those things can make or break what you're trying to do. But I implore with you to not put off for tomorrow what you can do today, because tomorrow is not promised to any of us. And that's important. I hope that you have a wonderful, fantastic Good Friday and wonderful Easter weekend. And if you do believe like I do, and this is a time where Jesus went to the cross for us, I want you to reflect on why he did that. Why did he do that? Okay? He wanted to be in community with us. Okay? He wanted us to be in good standing with God the Father. And remember, temptation is real. Okay? And all that negativity and all that stuff that keeps us from being who we were created to be, the only way to silence it is to combat it with good habits, good things that we're putting in that are good for us. Okay? I absolutely love this community. I'm so blessed to be a part of it. And I want you guys to grow and be successful in your businesses. Thank you so much for joining me today for Real Talk. I'm Claudia of Claudia's Door Decor. If you ever need somebody in your corner cheering you on, or you're looking for a community to be a part of, reach out to me. Guys, have a wonderful Easter weekend, and I'll see you next week, where Ashley of Three Little Greenwoods is joining me for Real Talk. She is a gem in this community and has built a group of her own. A lot of us learned a lot from Miss Ashley. I personally learned how to make bows by watching Ashley. She taught me how to make my first bows, because there were a lot of tears in working with ribbon at the beginning of my journey. Bows were a thing that I was not comfortable with. So join us next week, 11 a.m. Central, right here on TikTok, to watch Real Talk with Ashley. And I'll see you guys next week.